And I know fellow Commissioner Mecklenburg will be here with us in a second. I know we have a lot on the docket. And so we'll go ahead and I'll call the meeting to order. And I believe the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on April 3rd. Is there I assume everybody's had a chance to review them, and if so, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Minutes are approved. Our next order of business is a very important order of business, in that there's a retirement that we have, we believe. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider at this point? All right, he's smiling, so I'm not answering, so I think that's not going to be the case. So I'm going to go ahead and have our director, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, Commissioners, we're going to have Jerry appear before the podium here in a minute. Before I do that, Forrest Decker is off on vacation this week, so Patrick McNamara, who actually oversees the good work of Jerry over the years, is going to do a formal introduction. Patrick McNamara.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'd like to present and recognize Jerry Roberson for 24 years and 12 days of service at the end of this month. He's going to retire, and let me help myself out here. He started on April 18th, 1988 as a painter for the city of Kansas City, and came over here to Park and Rec about a year later in '89. And he pretty much kept the same duties with Park and Rec up until he was promoted as a maintenance mechanic in '97. And that expanded his job duties, but his primary responsibility has been painting throughout all the Park and Rec various buildings and structures, and he's probably not a wall within any building that Jerry hasn't touched in 24 years, including this room here. He's worked on, he's been in part of the Quality Circle Committee for several years, and he also every year put a fresh coat of paint on every booth at our Ethnic Festival, which definitely brings a lot more freshness and colorful atmosphere to Parks and Rec as a whole. So I'd like to recognize Jerry and thank him for all of his years.
Thank you.
Where did all the years go? I started with solid waste. I came over here a year later to Parks. I found my niche at Parks. The 24 years has been a joy for me. I enjoyed my job. I enjoyed the people. I especially enjoyed the management and the direction of the Misters Mark McHenry and Steve Lampone. Whenever we had any kind of problem, I don't care how minute it was or trivial, we could always go to Mr. Lampone, and he would always have a listening ear for us. I especially appreciate the bosses I've worked for. Pat, I've worked for about a year. Before that was Adrian Malone, presently Supervisor Peter Jolly. And I'd just like to share one thought from the scriptures with you. Ecclesiastes 3:13 says that work is a gift from God. And I've been blessed with 24 continuous years of work that I could support my family, and certainly has been a joy for me. So I thank everyone that I had an opportunity to work with, especially those in upper management, have given a very good direction for Parks and Rec, and I certainly appreciate the 24 years of service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, we might need you up here though first, Jerry. You got to come up here, and we have something for you. So please come on up.
Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Thank you. Thank you so much for service. There's a couple of things on behalf of us. Congratulations on retirement. Hope to see you around. Good places.
Thank you so much. All right, good luck. Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, we got to have to take a picture.
Oh, you got to pose.
Take your picture so we know what you can remember here.
Okay. And we'll do one more. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Lampone, I think you owe Jerry some lunch for those nice comments about you. There you go. Very much. All right, moving on. The next order of business is resolution number 29820.
We have Kevin.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Oh, the presentation, I'm sorry, by Kevin Fuel with the Union Cemetery Historical Society.
Yes, Commissioners, we're glad to have Kevin here today. We talk about a lot of our partner organizations we've been bringing to you over a period of time that we work closely with
Yes.
to help maintain and operate and program a lot of our facilities. And one of our facilities is the Union Cemetery, located just south of Crown Center. And we are glad that we have the Historical Society to help oversee that operation. And the president of the society is here, and that's Kevin Fuel.
Great.
So Kevin, yeah, sure, Dave, please come up forward and say something.
Hi, Dave Burke, Area Superintendent, Central Region. Yes, I work with Kevin. It's a great partnership that we have. They take very good care of the cemetery and have a great interest in it. So he's here today to briefly give you a background of the society and to give you his yearly report, which I'm going to pass out as he comes up to the podium.
Great,
Kevin?
thank you.
Thank you.
Good to meet all of you for the very first time. Thanks very much for your work as the Park Board. And good afternoon. A little background about Union Cemetery Historical Society. First of all, Union Cemetery, if you don't know, is Kansas City's oldest public cemetery, founded in 1857. A lot of people think when they hear the word Union Cemetery, they think it has something to do with the Civil War, but obviously it was started a lot earlier than that. Basically, it was a cemetery that was to be shared by the town of Kansas, which later became Kansas City, and the town of Westport, which was actually the big city at the time. Therefore, it was a union of the two towns. That's how it got its name. And then over the years, of course, Kansas City grew, took over Westport, and as it grew, the Union Cemetery began to shrink. Originally, it was 27 acres. Now it's, actually it was 54 acres, now it's about 27 acres. We have about 50,000 people buried in Union Cemetery, and most of them had a lot to do with the founding and the development of the area that we love, and we call Kansas City and we call home. The Historical Society was formed in 1984 when a box of records from Union Cemetery was dropped on the desk of a Park Department employee, and he looked through it and kind of figured out that this was pretty important stuff. At the time, Union Cemetery was just kind of there, and no real activity in the cemetery. So he sent out the word to people who had relatives and ancestors buried in the cemetery to please help to restore what records were there and to continue research for those records of people that were buried in Union Cemetery that were not there anymore. In 1899, there was a fire that destroyed the Sexton's Cottage, which destroyed all the records up to that time. So over a period of years, the descendants of people buried in Union Cemetery gathered together and started regenerating those records. Right now we have records of about maybe 2/3 of the people that are buried in the cemetery. And that is ongoing. That's an ongoing part of the Historical Society's efforts. Over the periods of years, starting about 1994, 1995, the Historical Society has also begun to partner more and more with the Parks Department in terms of the restoration and the protection of Union Cemetery for future generations. We've put in gardens through the efforts of donations, memorials for people who have died and are buried in Union Cemetery. We've started doing an Arbor Day ceremony where we plant a tree every year with the help of the Parks and Recreation Department. And we've also maintained guided tours, and we have several events throughout the year to help generate interest and publicity for Union Cemetery. We feel it's probably, as a lot of people say, it's the jewel, an unknown jewel in Kansas City. If you haven't been there, you really should go by and see it. It's a very quiet place in the middle of the hustle and bustle of this major metropolitan area that we have. And a lot of people use it as a place just to kind of go and relax and enjoy nature in the middle of the city. that's the little background for you. In terms of 2011, let me just start out by saying thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department for all of the hard work in 2011. Cemeteries are relatively hard to maintain, especially a cemetery like Union Cemetery, where you have different kinds of stones and not everything's flat like in new cemeteries. 2011 was an outstanding year of maintenance in Union Cemetery. People from the neighborhood, people from that come to visit, and the members of the Historical Society, especially our board members, are very grateful for the wonderful job of maintaining the cemetery that the Parks did in 2011. It was probably one of the best years of maintenance that we've had there in a very long time. And I also want to thank you for the help in terms of our Arbor Day service, and also all of the help that you give us when we have events, and all the latitude you give us as well in terms of letting us have the events in the cemetery. I also want to commend the work of the Board of Directors of the Union Cemetery Historical Society. Without these people, not only are they the board members, but they are the major volunteer force in Union Cemetery. We have about 200 members of the Union Cemetery Historical Society. Most of them are either out of town or very old. And so the board has become the major force of volunteer activity. And so they have done yeoman's work. They did yeoman's work in 2011 as well as previous years to help the society maintain its goals and to help achieve its goals of preserving and protecting Union Cemetery for future generations. 2011 brought increased activity to Union Cemetery with 2 additional events that we held last year, as well as our regular events. Arbor Day, we have a semi-annual and annual membership meeting, and then we have our Memorial Day service. Those are our annual events. Those are things that happen every year. The Arbor Day event this year will be April 28th. We invite you to come out. We're actually dedicating a tree this year to those who are buried in Union Cemetery who served their country during the War of 1812, which of course is commemorating its 200th anniversary this year. That's Saturday, April 28th at 1 p.m. Memorial Day, of course, is at the end of May. The cemetery will be open all weekend. We call it actually Memorial Weekend at Union Cemetery. There'll be a troop of Boy Scouts that will come out Saturday morning, the 26th, and put out flags on all the veterans' graves, both Union and Confederate. It's one of the few places that you'll see that around this area. But we do have people, who, obviously men who fought on both sides of the Civil War, buried in Union Cemetery. The additional events that we had last year were John Calvin McCoy. Well, let's back up. In March, we had the 200th anniversary of George Caleb Bingham's birth. George Caleb Bingham is buried in Union Cemetery at what we call Founders Row. So we had during the weekend, the main weekend of his anniversary celebration in March of 2011, we held a memorial service for Mr. Bingham on Saturday and Sunday, both days of the weekend. The first day was inside because the weather was so poor. It was raining and cold, and nobody wanted to go outside and do that. So we held it inside in the sexton's cottage. And then outside the next day on Sunday, we held it at his gravesite. It was both days, we probably had over 100 people, new visitors to Union Cemetery, who found out about the memorial service. And the service included remarks by John Calvin McCoy and his widow, Mattie Likens Bingham. And it was very well attended and very well appreciated by those who attended. The other event was the 200th anniversary of John Calvin McCoy's birth in September. Of course, he is the founder of Westport, and he drew the first plat of the town of Kansas down at the River's Landing. He is also buried not very far, as a matter of fact, from George Caleb Bingham. So we had a special one-day event where we did a kind of a pared-down version of an event that we call Historical Epitaphs, Voices from the Past. It's a guided tour of the cemetery, And at certain places along the cemetery's path, we have first-person narratives of some of the people who are buried in Union Cemetery. Some of those people like John Calvin McCoy, George Caleb Bingham, Mattie Likens Bingham, and such. So we had a pared-down version of that. Friends and acquaintances of John Calvin McCoy, who they talked about their love of Kansas City, their friendship with McCoy, and about how together they created and developed this great area that we love. So those two events, again, generated probably another 200 to 300 new visitors to Union Cemetery during that time. That, along with our Memorial Day event and Arbor Day event in 2011, just from those events alone, we probably saw 600 to 700 new visitors to Union Cemetery. That doesn't include the school groups that come in that we don't know about because, of course, it's open to anybody. You'll see in the spring of the year, you'll see school buses pulled up outside and kids just roaming around looking for all of these historic names that they've learned about in terms of Kansas City history, from grade school through middle school. It's a wonderful time of year in the cemetery to see all those kids come in and appreciate who's gone before. Our Memorial Day service in 2011 was bigger than it ever has been. We had a timeline, basically a living timeline of soldiers who are buried in Union Cemetery from the Revolution through the Vietnam, along with Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops participating. And again, we had over probably about 150 people attend that service. Along with that, just in general terms, we had some added help this year to help people come and when they come and visit the cemetery and ask for help in terms of their ancestors and genealogical work. We not only was our long-suffering treasurer, Ann Strahlman, who's been with the Historical Society for a long time. She's now our archivist as well. Not only was she there, but we had the help of 3 other Union Cemetery Historical Society members, Penny Powell, Sue Allen, and Jane Berkowitz. With their efforts, they probably, I think they were in the cemetery close to 1,000 hours just themselves, helping people, doing research, answering emails and telephone calls and letters that come in, and visitors who wander in to the Union Cemetery looking for information. This year, with the permission of Parks and Recreation Department, the Historical Society opened the cemetery on the weekends so people could come in and enjoy the cemetery on their own. One of our board members, Jane Berkowitz, actually volunteered to come into the cemetery on Saturday afternoons to help, and that saw increased activity to Union Cemetery and the Sexton's Cottage. So overall, we had just many more people visit Union Cemetery this year. Also, we had 2 members of the board, Rich Hubert, who's a member of the board. He gave several communiversity classes about Union Cemetery in 2011. And our board vice president, Phil Lanehart, also gave talks throughout the city to different social organizations about Union Cemetery and the importance of its history and the importance of Union Cemetery to Kansas City. Perhaps one of the most exciting projects begun in 2011 was the restoration of several burial sites, including George Caleb Bingham's and John Calvin McCoy's. The cost of this work, which was performed by Gravesite Masters of Salina, Kansas, was funded by memorials given to the Historical Society for that purpose. We hope to use it as a pilot project, this restoration of these few sites, to generate more funds and more memorials and more donations to the Historical Society, where we can reset and restore more of the monuments in Union Cemetery, which have come down through natural causes and also a lot from vandalism back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. A lot of bad stuff happened back before the cemetery got a fence all the way around it. We're happy that that happened. So we hope to use, again, money that we generate from that to restore more stones. Late in 2011, again, our partners with Parks and Recreation came in and started taking down some dead trees that had been around for a very long time and actually became a danger in the cemetery, not only to stones that were there, but also to people walking through. So they started taking down those trees, and we really appreciated that. I think by the time it was done, it was at least 19 or 20 trees that came down and were moved out of the cemetery, so we really appreciate that. This year, 2012, just to kind of let you know what's happening, again, as I said, Arbor Day, Memorial Day. We're adding one event this year, which we hope will become an annual event, and that's a Veterans Day commemoration. And that will be held, obviously, in November. And I think it's November 11th. It's a Sunday this year. And actually, this year, we're taking the opportunity to dedicate a new monument to the only World War II, he was an Air Force or Army Air Corps person who died in battle during World War II and is buried in Union Cemetery. The gentleman's name is Harold Height. Again, through memorials, we have ordered a new stone for him from Johnson & Sons, who we work a lot with in Independence, and it will actually describe how he died as a stand-up monument. It's going to be, and we will dedicate that and unveil that on Veterans Day. Again, thank you very much for all the partnership that with the Union Cemetery Historical Society. We appreciate all the efforts. There have been some things that have happened in the past couple of months at the cemetery that I know it's going to be hard to find money for. We've had a wall start to come down on the west side, and but I understand that the people are working as hard as they can to find the money to try to build that back up again. Again, I'm open for questions if you have any. If not, thank you very much for listening. I went on a little bit longer than I probably should have, but when I get to talking about Union Cemetery, it's hard for me to stop. So thanks very much. I appreciate your help, your help, and I appreciate your attendance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Moving forward, on to resolution number 29820.
Yes, Commissioners, this is a recommendation to award a contract to National Streetscape for a variety of parking lot and trail improvements identified in the first paragraph in about 5 different locations. We'd recommend approval of this contract to National Streetscape in the amount of $860,090. If you have any questions, Travis is here to answer those.
Are there any questions of Travis regarding this resolution, the recommendation? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, resolution passes. Resolution number 29821.
Yes, Commissioner, this is consideration of a license facility use agreement concessions for an event called the Annual Antique Festival down in the Crown Center area. You have a memo in your packet from Shannon Dooley. It spells out the details. Would recommend approval, and Shannon is here if you have any questions.
Okay, great. Are there any questions of Shannon? Very good. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, resolution passes. Resolution number 29822.
Yes, Commissioner, this is an agreement, actually an amendment to our management agreement with the Friends of the Zoo to utilize a couple $100,000 in GEO bond funds that have been available through the City Council appropriation process and provide that to the zoo, and they're going to add additional funds to that to do some work at the tiger exhibit at the Kansas City Zoo. Would recommend approval. If you have any questions about what's going to get done with this $500,000 at the tiger exhibit, Randy's here.
Are there any? Randy, would you like to come on up and
Tell us about it.
talk to us about how you're keeping us safe from the tigers?
You know me.
Well, they're right across the street.
Yeah, they're over there and they're going to stay there.
Excellent.
This just takes an older area of the zoo that, again, we're trying to make improvements with brand-new stuff and doing what we can to fix up some of the old stuff, which was the intent of that bond money from '04 in large part. So this takes the tiger exhibit that is adequately sized, but most people feel sorry for the tigers. They think they're in too small of an exhibit. This increases the size of it 5-fold, puts in this invisible netting, with a center pole structure. It's going to have a little waterfall, pool for the tigers, and just really, in general, update and improve an existing exhibit. So we found a little private money to go with it, another public-private partnership from one of my board members, and I think everybody's going to be real proud and real happy with, and especially the tigers. I think they'll be
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
extremely happy. And a little sidebar of that, MU, I think we've got a few MU fans in here, are going to help sponsor the tiger exhibit for the next 5 years, which they've done in St. Louis at the zoo and Springfield at the zoo. So they're gonna, we've signed them on.
Now we need to
So
get rid of
Yeah,
that
do you have to get the
Jayhawk.
Jayhawks? Do you have to somehow get some Jayhawks in?
Feed Jay.
Very good.
I know I should have kept my mouth shut.
They'll lead them, won't they?
And then,
Like, what is the Jayhawk? Why, how do they don't even have an animal?
Imaginary. We did some really good news. We had a record March. We had 138,000 visitors come through the zoo. Since privatization, that is the biggest month. The previous big month was last October at 115,000. So a lot of people using the zoo. The weather was nice, and we had our first free day to the 2 counties that voted for the tax district. We had 32,000 people there in one day.
I was driving by that day. It was the line.
I was locked inside, and I would have loved to have been on a helicopter and seen where people were parking, because I heard. Mr. Lampone, did you hear? Hey, aren't those good problems to have?
Yes, they're fantastic.
So thank you for all your support, Mr. McHenry and your staff. We appreciate what you do for this.
Randy, of the attendance increases, how many people do you think are outside of the metropolitan area?
Oh,
Do you
Commissioner.
have any way of telling that?
We will. I don't have that data right now. At this time of year, it's slim at best. As far as an increase, we will be doing some additional promotional things out in about a 3-hour radius from Des Moines, Omaha, Wichita. So we hope to capture. We're using our polar bears, the focus again, because that really is the thing that sets us apart from those other zoos. So we hope to have more visitors from outside the region to kind of help spend a little money in these 2 counties and increase that tax.
That's what I've been touting,
Yeah.
the economic impact of
Yeah.
our partnerships with Parks and Recreation, and that information will be helpful to us to put that out to the general public,
Yeah,
to let
we
them know
we
what
will
an
be
asset
happy
this
to,
is.
be happy to share that with you. And I think so far, and I have heard, I asked our education director, this is Tuesday, right? Yesterday, about our school bookings, and in the 2 counties, because we're offering free admission, have greatly increased. So we've got a lot of school groups coming in the next 6 weeks, which again is a really good benefit. And I think the counties will enjoy hearing that the citizens are using the zoo, which was the intent of this. We're improving the zoo and they're using the zoo. So it's win-win, and we're hoping to have some economic impact on this.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ready? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We
Thanks.
appreciate it. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Resolution number 29823.
Yes, Commissioner, this is cooperative agreement with the Park Board and the Kansas City Royals for improvements to Mulkey Square and Satchel Page Parks to get basically some uplift and some improvements, renovation. The memo spells out some of the details of what would be done, and this is on their nickel, so we do appreciate it. If you have any questions about the scope or the relationship between us and the Royals for these 2 projects, Dave Burke is here to answer those questions.
Are there any questions, Dave, in regards to this?
Yeah.
All right.
It's great to see.
Yes, it is. Very good. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Resolution passes. Resolution number 29824.
Yes, Commissioner, this is an agreement with HDR Engineering Firm for a section of trail that actually connects Brush Creek to the Blue River. In the memo that you have from Travis spells out the details and MBWD participation and the cost of the contract, a little over $95,000. Would recommend approval. If you have any questions, Travis is here to answer those.
Great. Any questions of Travis at this time?
Do you have a map of this by any chance, or do we have a map of this?
We do.
Okay. Can I get that, please? That'd be great. Thank you.
Any other requests or questions of Travis regarding this project? Not? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Resolution passes. Resolution number 29825.
Yes, Commissioners, the change order number 2 with Leith and Sons for $13,829. This is for, we have a project, the work along Cleaver Boulevard Trail, which is the run that runs along Brush Creek adjacent to Cleaver Boulevard, coming from Woodland going to the east and then up along Cleaver Boulevard toward 31st Street. And the other part of it is some work at Fairfield Park in the Northland. There again, this is change order number 2. Recommend approval. If you have any questions, Travis is here to answer those.
Any questions of Travis regarding this? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded, we'll just go like that.
There you go.
And then, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That resolution passes. Resolution number 29826.
Yes, Commissioners, this is a change order, actually change order number 1 with National Streetscape for some work over on Broadway Boulevard from 39th to Armour. And the memo from Travis spells out the detail, a little over, well, almost $62,000. And if you have any questions, again, Travis is here to answer them.
Any questions of Travis? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Good. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Good, resolution passes. Resolution number 29827.
Yes, Commissioners, this is another contract change order with Leith and Sons. It's number 3 on their citywide curb and sidewalk project. As you can see from the memo, there's been some work done at a couple locations on the first 2 change order. Number 3 is for work at 17th and Van Brunt in Seven Oaks Park. Both locations curb and sidewalk work. Again, if you have any questions, Travis is here.
Travis, you're a popular guy today. Is there any questions of Travis? Every day, yes, corrected by Commissioner Gomowski. That's true. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Good. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 29828.
Yes, Commissioners, this is amendment number 1 with the Virgin Pictures Company. Approved a contract, actually through administrative process last fall for the Swope Park sign system. This would get the project started. We've done one mock-up sign over there by the old Nature Center. I hope some of you may have seen that sign. I think we got pretty good feedback on it, so we'd like to try some additional signs, and that's what this amendment is for. Again, if you have any questions, Travis is here.
Great. Mark, just really quick, remind me, that was a presentation that was given to us about 2 months ago, right? That
Yeah,
was
we gave you an update. Heather.
There was an update, and they sort of showed us all the different signs, the location, talking about here. Okay,
That's right.
great. I remember that.
Yeah, Heather Runkle's our project manager.
Yeah, that was great.
And it's my understanding that some of our partners are
Yes.
contributing on this, Zoo and Starlight,
Starlight,
because they
right.
benefit greatly from it.
Yes, true statement.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 The resolution passes. The next order of business is resolution number 29829, gifts and contributions.
Yes, recommend the acceptance of these 4 gifts.
Great. Is there a motion to accept these gifts?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Resolution passes. Director's report.
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to do before we get up to major construction, if you wanted to ask William to come up here, Travis? William's name was submitted to the Kansas City Chamber for their annual ACE Awards, and he went through a review process and actually interviewed by members of the Greater Downtown Chamber, and he was a winner of the ACE Award, and so Travis can
William
tell.
Warren is a construction superintendent for us, and the award was for outstanding project management and leadership, and with that, I'll turn that over to William and let you tell a little bit about the award and the process. This occurred on April 10th, I believe was the breakfast.
The breakfast was on April 10th, and as far as I'm going to go and say, I appreciate the nomination. I thank Mark for that, and I'm done with it.
You go back to work out in the field.
There you go.
Yeah.
And this is awarded by the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
And what does the ACE stand for? Do we know? The ACE Award? We could just make it up, you know, if you like, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, achievement, but it's not really an acronym, it's just.
Oh, it's
how
not
they've
achievement?
coined- Yeah, that's
Okay.
how they've coined it. And basically Travis said it's for leadership in the field. There was 4 other nominees or
You're the
presentations
ace, you're
that same
number
morning.
one.
And I know Commissioner Gromowski was with us that morning. We appreciate you being there for that.
You got it? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, congratulations.
And the artist that designed the award was there that morning too, I remember. So it's
Yeah,
pretty-
that's cool.
It's
very-
pretty elaborate.
very.
Yeah, it's very elaborate.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Fairly unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Thanks, William.
Thank you, Wade.
Okay, major construction, Travis.
You'll find some photos on your desk there in front of you. The first stack has a pile of rocks on the photograph. That's a photograph of some progress going on with the Liberty Memorial site. That project, if you recall, is one of the aspects of that project is rebuilding that wall along Main Street. As that wall was being taken down stone by stone, it was realized that a lot of those stones were going to be unusable. They had weathered to the point and fractured and deteriorated that they wouldn't be able to put them back. J.E. Dunn was able to find suitable stone that not only had to be suitable for the project itself, but also to the state historic preservation officers, so that we can maintain the historic characteristic of that wall. And the photographs, as you see some of the stone involved there. Some of the second photo involves some of the soil nailing that's involved to stabilize that slope behind the wall. The wall itself will incorporate the outer portion that you see, the soil nails, and also a drainage structure up above to help the longevity of this thing. So it was, for one basic or simple aspect of the project, it was pretty involved. So Jimmy Lossing's project manager on that project. J.E. Dunn is the contractor. So.
It's quite
Was
a
that
different
done within,
look.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's quite a different look when you're driving down the hill there and seeing all that brush gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So and it's-
Nice.
Is there money attached to the new stones? I mean, is that within the budget of what
Yes,
they-
actually, the project had several different funding sources. The repair of the wall, it's about 300 linear feet along Main Street. That was actually funded out of the endowment fund.
Oh, great.
So,
And the weather's been great, and they have made excellent progress. So I
Yes.
think, how are they on schedule? They're way ahead, aren't they?
they're ahead. I hesitate to say
Say
way
way
ahead, but
ahead.
yes, they are
Okay.
ahead of schedule.
Yeah, let me just mention one thing on this, and I think we can get you more update. They're running into some issues on the General's Wall right now, which is down there at the corner of Pershing and Main, you know, where the 5 Allied generals were. And they were hoping to salvage some of the cut stone, limestone down there, and their amount of salvage on that is not going to be what they would hoped it would be, so they're probably going to have to come up with some additional stone for that. And so that one's not probably as far along as they would hope to be.
That's correct. That was a major waterproofing effort down there as
Right,
well, so.
yeah. So, but the work here on Main, the work up around the memorial, on the tower, that's all in great shape. But the wall may go a little further.
Yes.
In time schedule.
The second set of photographs, usually we don't have projects this small that we show off, but when I saw the photographs on this, I thought it's just a fantastic looking segment here. That's down at the Buck O'Neill Center there at 18th and Paseo, between 18th and 19th Street. And that was a $100,000 project, but when you look at the difference that made down there as far as installation of the lights, the curb and sidewalk, and the ADA access there on the corner, that project was completed right before the spring rains hit, so the grass all took hold at the correct time, and that was completed by MJ Builders. Steve Hatfield was project manager on that project, and I thought it was just a fantastic looking photograph as far as that shot there on the corner and how vibrant that wall is. He said that in all of the area that wall, it drives past that wall, and there's no issue with tagging and graffiti and trash blowing in that area. It's very well maintained and a vibrant area, so. Any questions on those projects?
It looks really nice.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Heidi, marketing report? Yeah, I'll start.
Good afternoon. Since we last met, we had a couple of big events. We had a beautiful Fountain Day, Kansas City's best day ever, when we turned on our 47 publicly owned fountains. A wonderful turnout of the media and actually the neighborhood and other city leaders at the event on April the 10th, which was held at the Marlboro Plaza Fountain. I know several of you were in attendance. Thank you for being there to probably witness your first Fountain Day. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Commissioner. Yeah, Commissioner, yeah.
Well, they're not often that nice, so of weather.
Otherwise, it was wonderful.
It was just great, and I tell you, I mean, I was just thoroughly impressed with the turnout and then also the media coverage, so job well done.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to thank those students from the Benjamin Banneker Academy of Technology. They were just great. I love when we can get students there to help with the program because it always makes it more enjoyable and uplifting, and they just did a great job.
I don't
So.
know if I can speak for everybody here, but this was so much better than the first groundbreaking that we attended.
The Korean War Veteran Memorial. Yeah, we have had Fountain Days, though, where it was also raining. The water was coming down from the skies as well. So we got lucky. But thank you, and thanks to everyone who assisted in that event. We also had the groundbreaking for the Shoto Parkway, and that was just yesterday. So we had another beautiful day for that. We did that with in partnership with the Capital Projects. And thank you to Commissioner Dillingham and Mecklenburg for coming out for that as well. Okay, we've got a really busy couple of weeks coming up, particularly the last weekend in April, the weekend of the 28th and 29th. We've got several big events going on in our parks. We've got the Fit and Fiscal Family Festival, which is taking place at the Minor Park Tennis Courts. You can come out and learn how to be physically and fiscally responsible, meet some professional athletes, and they just got all kinds of things going on throughout the day. And that's a partnership with the guys who really help out at those Minor Park Tennis Courts. If you haven't been down there either, that was recently renovated in the last 2 years, and it's a gorgeous tennis plaza, another kind of hidden jewel in our system. But I think is there 12? Courts down there, and they're the blue ones, and it's just a beautiful setting in Minor Park. So if you have some time that day, bring your kids.
Is this the 28th?
It's the 28th.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's going on that weekend, as well as Chalk Walk, which takes place at the other end of the city in the Old Northeast, and that is up at the Concourse. That's with the Northeast Arts, and another really fun family event. Lots of really great activities going on, and you can chalk in the sidewalks and in the fountains. And then also, while you're up in that area, the Bud Park Bike Safety and Rodeo is going on that weekend as well. So really, really busy Saturday and Sunday at the end of the month. And then the next thing we have after that is the following Saturday will be the dedication of the improvements to Spring Valley Park. And that's going to take place early in the morning because it will kick off the Frank White Family Fun Run, Walk, and Art Festival that they'll be doing in the park for the rest of the day. So there's a lot going on in the park that day. Hopefully you can make it out that morning to help get it off to a good start. And that's at 8:45 in the morning is when we'll actually be doing the dedication. We'll be cutting the ribbon. And yeah, on May 5th. Sorry. And then the participants in the fun run will kind of walk through the ribbon, and that will start the little walk that they'll be doing between Cruz Park and Spring Valley Park. They're going to be walking the new trails that have been put in there. Following that, we are just really in the planning stages for a lot of summer activities. We've got a lot going on this summer. Just some of the things are beginning in early June, we have Rose Day. We, of course, have National Trails Day. We've got the Dragon Boat Festivals, the Heartland Heat Triathlon, the City of Fountains Bike Ride. In July, we'll have the Party in the Park, which is a celebration of National Parks and Recreation Month, and that always takes place in Swope Park. I'm working on finalizing the schedule on that, and we'll have more details for you next time we meet. Brush Creek Art Walk, and then we have the Ethnic Enrichment Festival. And then in between all that, we have the All-Star Games. So we've got a big summer planned, and I look forward to having you participate in all of those activities with us. think that's all I have.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks.
That's all.
These two gentlemen have come on.
Is there another park maintenance district boundary?
Yes,
revisions?
Dave Burke is going to give you a little information. You got a memo in your packet, Commissioners. Do a little tweaking of the boundaries between north, central, and south. And
Good afternoon.
Dave can explain all that to you.
Dave Burke, Area Superintendent, Central District. Yes, we are changing the boundaries. The boundaries start for the South District, the South City limits, and go to 63rd Street. Central District picks up at 63rd Street, goes basically to Truman Road, and then the North District starts at Truman Road and goes to the north boundary districts. What we're doing is we're tweaking those a little bit. We're bringing the south boundaries down to what amounts to about 47th Street. It's actually going to stay on the south side of Brush Creek and kind of run along Brush Creek and go due east that way. That way we leave the Brush Creek corridor stays in the Central District as well. So from that point to the river is where the Central District will go, the Missouri River. So the Central District in essence is picking up all of the northeast area parks that currently are under the North District. And then the North District will go from the river further north. The reason we're doing this is because, one, it makes sense. It's just logical to do it at this point. The Northland's going to grow, and eventually the North District is going to move further north. And so their personnel levels are low too, so this allows us to take on more in the Central District and pick up those areas. The one caveat there is we're going to go over and up Warnell Road to 55th Street so that Luce Park and Westwood Park stay in the Central District. The idea behind that was the South District, has a signature park in like Swope Park, and the North has one in like Hodge Park. So we threw that back and forth, and we thought, well, maybe we need to leave Luce Park in the Central District because it is a destination park, and so I kind of wanted to keep it myself too because it's a beautiful park and I'm responsible for it. So, but like I said, it makes sense at this time. The boundaries originally for the Park Department did go to 47th Street, so we're kind of getting back to our roots a little bit. That way, all that area from 47th to the river is concentrated in the Central District. It just makes sense. It doesn't make sense for the north as they move further north to come across the river and do maintenance over there. So it's more of a logical process that we went through in deciding where these boundaries actually went. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. I don't know if you want the number. It says in there how many parks will be in each district now. 69 in the north, 90 in the central. The Brush Creek corridor will be still in the central, and that operation works out of the Central District locations, which is at 1520 West 9th Street. They'll have 5 parks, and then the South District will have 56. So
how do you delineate out the Brush Creek district from central? What does Brush Creek mean?
Brush Creek is the Brush Creek corridor, and as part of that corridor, that they are responsible for Cancer Survivors Park, Martin Luther King Park, Mill Creek Park. Yeah, well, yes, or Elmwood actually. So it goes all the way over there. And so as part of their responsibilities, they pick up a few of those parks that are on the periphery of the creek.
Right on.
Plaza, Tennessee, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, I think it's important to know that you have a superintendent in charge of the Brush Creek.
Correct, yes. April McCrary is superintendent of the Brush Creek.
And she works out of your central.
She works out of the Central District along with our Forestry Division.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions?
That's effective immediately, Dave?
It'll be effective May 1st, actually.
Okay. All right.
Kind of coincides with the new districts too, to some degree.
Yeah,
The
and we had looked at that, and some of it, we
kind of helps with PIAC funding.
It helps a lot with that because the 4th district kind of moved up in the northeast area. So I think from a communication between folks like Dave and working with Councilwoman Markinson's office and things, it'll help in that regard too.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, we have a public hearing. Are you all here to speak? Or we didn't have you sort of sign in, so if you don't mind when you come on, just state your name and the subject matter, which you're going to speak to. So.
Okay, you want me to sign in now? Or?
No. Just if you don't mind just sort of saying that.
Okay, not a problem. I am Wayne Snyder.
Okay.
And subject matter that I'm going to address today is the increase in the fees at the community center. Particularly, I'm concerned about the fees at the Greg Kleiss Community Center. Before I get started, I just want to commend you guys. It seems like there's a lot of work going on with regard to the Parks and Recs department. The information the lady gave about Minor Park and tennis. I'm an advocate tennis player, and my son and I will certainly be making the rounds over there. But my hat off to you guys. Just kind of jump right into it. First of all, I'd like to thank Steve and Mark and Linda Miles for talking with me yesterday about a lot of the issues that with regard to the fees. I'd like to just pass out to you. Here you go. Some issues as well as some comparative analysis. And I know that you guys passed this price increase some weeks ago, and there was a opportunity for public debate. Of course, it's only when the rubber meets the road when you seem to get people out and talking about issues, and I apologize for that. With regard to the fee increase, I did some comparative analysis myself, and with regard to the fitness centers as well as community centers out there. Now, the fee increase that is being proposed at the Greg Kleiss Center is $35 monthly. Right now, it's $25. The analysis that I've done seems to be that on the high end, with regard to fitness centers, the cost is $36.99, and we're looking at 24-hour fitness. With regard to community centers, called around the Platte Community Center, Parkville, the YMCA is at the top end at $63, and that's with having access to all the YMCA facilities in the region here. Some of the issues that I have, and not only that I have, but I tend to represent, I like to say that those that have the least of these, if you will. At the Greg Kleiss Center, and if you kind of turn the page around to some of the issues that we're concerned with, it's particularly with access and some of the structural issues that happens or is not occurring with regard to infrastructure, the steam room, the pool, and a lot of that has been addressed. And I'll just, like I shared with Steve and Mark on yesterday, we've been meeting with the center and their staff since 2007, and a lot of the things that we had on that list there was addressed and is continuing to be addressed. You know, there are some maintenance issues that, of course, that probably never get everybody satisfied, but there are some maintenance issues that are ongoing and that are being addressed. And I'd like to thank Linda for always being there for us. But with regard to the price increase, just keep in mind that the center was built in 1995, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay.
95, that's correct.
And the equipment is still the same original equipment that's been there since 1995. In doing my analysis with regard to the fitness centers and community centers, the equipment that these facilities have, for the most part, are fairly new. And we're looking at getting a fee increase with regard to a diminished access as well as not the best equipment. Just historically, I've been a member of that center for about 13 years. When the center opened in 95, it was open 7 days a week, then 6 days a week. Now it's open 5 days a week, and it typically opens from 6 to 9, and now it closes at 6 p.m. Although Steve and Mark and Linda mentioned that there's going to be a grand opening here in a couple weeks with regard to opening the center up again on Saturdays and the full day from 6 to 9 on Fridays, and that we really appreciate. So access was an issue. If the center is open, again, right now it's not. It's closed on the weekends, but if it is open, then we'll have some access. The other issue I have with regard to the community. Now, that community is the Council District 3, and I did some demographic research. And with regard to income in that district, the median income in that district is about 25,661. All right. Now, if you look at the information that I just sent out that I just passed out rather, the poverty level for a family of 4 is 26,510. And if you look at the information that I got, demographic information for Council District 3, as it relates to income of households, 20.2% of the households in that district are between $10,000 and $19,000, or $20,000. 18% are between $20,000 and $29,000. So my point is, I mean, if you look at the community that the center is supposed to serve, these citizens that are in that community are, for the most part, at the poverty level. And we talked about, Steve and Mark and Linda and I, we talked about, of course, there is a revenue issue with regard to the city, and we're aware of that. And the Greg Kleist Center has taken the brunt of that because many of the other facilities are open 7 days a week. Certainly Southeast is. When I talk with, the clientele there, and I work out there, I try and work out 3 or 4 days a week, and hopefully, as you can see, I'm in pretty good shape. Well, that's being a little braggadocious there. That's a little pun there, a little joke. Trying to get some levity going here. But no, so my point is, we feel that we're not getting the bang for the buck that's being proposed at this moment. And looking at the community in totality, also the clientele that it would serve, and then not only serves the folks in that community that live there, but it serves the homeless as well. Restart is down the street, if you will, and a lot of the homeless brothers and sisters, they come in, they take a shower, and because there is a lack of staff there, sometimes, and because of the budget issue, sometimes maintenance is not adequately there to take care of some of the odor issues. Now, homeless folks they have to take a shower as well. They have to have some place to clean themselves. I would just ask, and I made some recommendations here, and those are just some of the issues we're talking about. A, we're talking about 17-year-old equipment. B, we're talking about access, and that's supposed to be taken care of. C, we're talking about staffing issues. And we're talking about being competitive with regard to some of the pricing issues that I've did some analysis on, the fitness centers and the community centers, I mean, at $35, you're right up there with everybody else in terms of, you know, fitness centers. And North Kansas City, and we talked about, they're $31, and all of these facilities are open 7 days a week. Of course, North Kansas City, and as Mark mentioned, they have the Argosy Casino, and it's probably subsidizing their community center. So there's a revenue stream there. I just asked the board to, I made some suggestive recommendations. Open the facility 7 days weekly or reduce the cost. Study the cost to update the equipment and look at possible implementation of it. I mean, I think 17 years is, and equipment, for the most part, it's 17 years old, okay? I mean, it still functions, but it's not competitive in terms of the dollar amount. Study some of the structural issues regarding the steam room and I think the pool. If you look at that 2007 issue sheet, there was an issue with the steam room then on 2007, and it's a continuing problem there. It seems like every year the steam room is out, and keep in mind when I started 13 years ago, I mean, you had people flocking there because it was state of the art. Steam room was up and running, but I guess budgets get tight, money gets tight, and people start leaving. Now the clientele, if you will, is diminished. I happen to like that facility. I really do. I get an opportunity to talk to some of the young men that are there, and while I'm working out, and kind of my way of kind of giving back, if you will. So I like that facility. It's convenient for me, and I'll probably continue to go there. So I ask that you study the structural issues regarding the steam room. Consider a sliding scale. I know there's an issue, and we talked about it again yesterday with regard to there is somewhat a sliding scale in place now with regard to, we're paying $25 for the fitness center. There are others that can pay just to swim. There's others that can pay to use the basketball facility. And I know there was some issues with some other centers and people taking advantage of the sliding scale and using services that they didn't pay for. I don't really see that at the Greg Kleist Center. We don't have a walking track. We have swimming. We have open gym. And then, of course, you have the aerobics and a lot of the other programs there. People, for the most part, that work out in the fitness area, they work out in the fitness area and they go home. You don't see too many people coming from the swimming hitting the fitness center. It really doesn't happen. So to say that, the $35 is to have complete access to all the services. Well, to be quite frank, I don't want access to all the services. I just want to go, hit the fitness facility, and leave. So I would suggest that, or recommend that you consider the sliding scale, or keep it in place, and until there is 7 day a week access, that there be reciprocal access to other facilities in the area. And I think that's only fair. With that, I think I've taken enough of your time. And I just want to thank, again, Mark and Steve, and Linda, They were very gracious with their time on yesterday. We spent about an hour talking about some of these issues. I want to just bring it to your attention. And, you know, I'm like, so how many of you guys going to come down and be there for me and root me on? Well, you know, it's a working community, okay? I just happen to have the opportunity to be able to take off and come down here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But it doesn't diminish the concerns that many of those residents have. And with that, I'll just take questions.
Are there any questions at this time or any statements? I just want to say, first of all, thanks for coming out on a afternoon on Tuesday to come express your concerns to us, and also I'm sure you took time out of your work schedule as well when you got together with Mark and Steve and others. And we really appreciate hearing from citizens and those people who, of course, use our community centers. And so we thank you first and foremost for that. I think we're going to talk to staff a little bit about this. This is a community centers issue. It's a huge issue for us, and you know about the budget issues in which the cities are. We struggle with that as well, and we're trying to figure out what is a way we can, one, not just get the centers fully operational 7 days a week, but also, you know, there's capital issues, operating sort of issues that we have to continue to sort of look at overall. So we're taking these comments as well as others we've heard from other citizens into consideration as we continue to sort of look forward and planning not just for this year, but in future years to come. So thank you very much for your time.
Not a problem. Do you think that the increase is going to be May 1st? What should I just go back? I mean, can I follow up with Mark or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too, and I appreciate Wayne's professional way of handling this. And we had a great discussion yesterday, and he presented very well here today, and we appreciate the way you've handled this, Wayne. And we learned a few things yesterday in our meeting, a few things we knew about from a while back, which was kind of reinforced, and things we heard for the first time. So it's always good to hear this stuff, and there again, you did a good job of explaining that today. And we're looking at the fees. I can't promise you anything today. I mean, I've got the schedule right here.
Yeah.
And I've kind of trying to do a little comparison. Your research is very helpful. That kind of helps us kind of understand some of these things. And we've done a few follow-up even since yesterday. William Warren, he was here earlier. He's on over to the center right now fixing the steam room. That's where he headed off to. So anyway, just kind of some of these things are being worked on. And then at the same time, we're looking at this comprehensively. And also I mentioned to Wayne yesterday, as you said, Commissioners, if there's an opportunity for the community as a whole to support our centers, for additional resources, whether it's for capital maintenance, for hiring additional staff, if something goes to the voters later this year, Wayne said he'd be glad to go out and help us sell that.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to need all help we can get.
We're counting on that.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. We'll be in touch around that too. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming out.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Great. All right, any other comments on the hearing? Were you here to, are you as part of support?
Yeah, I'm a supporter, but I would like to say one.
Yes, please, by all means.
It'd just be a minute.
No, please, state your name if you don't mind for us. Please.
My name is Gerald Burnside, and I go to the center quite often, and the fees down there are being raised, and I brought it to Wayne's attention. I just was like, it's not representing the community as a whole, because if you take T.B. Watkins, Shoto Courts, Wayne Minor, Parker Square, I mean, a lot of people can't afford to go there, and for it to be called a community center, I think you all, as a whole, should ask yourself, how come it's not packed out every day? You have kids down there, 18, 19, 16, 17. So I will go and just ask myself, how come this center isn't being utilized to its fullest? You know, and in part it is the fees. I mean, $25 is a lot of money for some people, especially if you're not working. You know, I'm just asking you all to just put some thought into how you can engage the community as far as them utilizing the facility better. Because, excuse me, you have Wayne Minor Center and you have Clymer Center, but those aren't really community centers per se. Those have basketball courts, and that's basically it. You know, Greg Clyce do have computer labs. They do have a swimming area, the weight room. They're supposed to have a boxing I guess, a boxing team or what have you. And those are things that you can utilize to engage that community down there. I don't know how often you all go down there. I don't know where you live or whatever, but just drive through there and just ask yourself, how can we get these individuals into this community center? Because it's deemed a community center, and I think that should be first and foremost. That's the only thing.
Well, what do you think? What is going to engage the community to come to the center? I mean, what are some ideas?
Well, I can tell you, at the beginning, the boxing thing was good. You know, everything that you all implemented was fine at the beginning, but I see you. When you put something there, you have to continue to invest in it. You know, you just can't leave it there and say, now it's here, and then walk away. I'm not saying you all did that. I'm just saying that's, you know, it has to be a continual investment, you know, and $35 is just going to push a lot of more people away. That's $300 a year I was already paying, and now you're asking me to pay $420 to use a public facility. So just, you know, just have the wheels turning. I know y'all, you know, have a lot on your plate, but, you know, I just had to say that, or just ask y'all to think about that.
We really appreciate you coming out. Thanks so much.
Thanks for taking
Thank you both.
All right, marketing. Gotta work on marketing. We got emails, we got text messages. Want to reach the kids, text them. You know, get their phone number. All the kids have text messages. Okay. You know, market to them.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you. All right. I think that concludes our docket for today. Or is there anything else on that?
Mark, what was this thing on historic?
Yeah, there's a memo in your package regarding the National Registry of Historic Places. We'd mentioned this probably a month or so ago, that we were looking into doing this. Sherry's identified a little bit of funds we'd have available through the trust fund that could pay for this. It's probably in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. And this is a copy of the RFQ, which is a request for qualifications.
Oh, yes, yes.
That would be sent out to individuals and firms that could provide these kind of services. They would work, as our project manager would be Ann McFerrin, who's our archivist, would be our project manager on this. And we'd like to move forward on this, and we think we really think it's a good thing for us. It kind of help serve the integrity of our park and boulevard system. So it's a little bit of prestige. Plus it's also a good protection for what we have out there right now. So I think if this fits the schedule we've outlined, this goes out, Steve, pretty quick, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, we just wanted.
But there's no, it's just informational for us, correct?
Yeah.
There's no action needed on our part.
Yeah, well, the only thing I do is if any one of the commissioners would like to be part of this selection panel, we open up that opportunity to learn a bit more about the process and have a chance to talk to some of these professionals that do this kind of work.
Very good.
So if you're interested, just let us know.
Yeah.
No, we will. Thank you.
Put Alan down. Okay. And then as far as the calendar is concerned, Heidi does always does a good job going through all the events and activities that are occurring. See, as far as the rest of the month of April is concerned, got past yesterday's groundbreaking and the board today, and then a couple of our partner boards meetings coming up the last week of April, Starlight Theater on the 24th and FOTS on the 25th. Jumping quickly to the month of May, which of course is a new fiscal year for the city. Arts Commission, well, board meeting, of course, on the 1st, Arts Commission the 2nd. We're having our planting day, McLean Bryant, at 8 o'clock a.m. on the 9th of May.
I'm there.
All right.
With her gloves.
With my gardening gloves and my green thumb.
And then we have these
Can
two.
I come and kill some?
We have these two tour afternoons, the 14th and the 21st.
Can I ask you, I know we agreed on those dates a long time ago, is the one that's the week that we do have a board meeting, is there any way that, I mean, I just, that much time in a work week for me is very difficult. And I'm wondering if we can have, I mean, I don't know if it's all reserved or whatever's done, but if we can have it on a day that, or a week that we don't have a board meeting, it would be helpful to me.
Would the, wouldn't want to do the 21st and not the 14th. Okay, we can arrange that. Yeah, it's strictly our schedule.
Okay, I didn't know how far
We're
ahead that was
flexible on
planned.
that, yeah.
That'd be
That's a good
great.
idea.
That's fine, that's good.
And the reason we picked 2 days is because we just got a big city out there.
I know,
You
but
could
I
do
just
it
am,
the 2nd and the 21st.
Yeah.
Take out the 14th.
I can't do the 2nd.
Okay. Well, keep the 21st. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll probably roll into June or something like
Okay.
that, probably.
Great.
Just roll into June.
Great. Thank you for your flexibility.
I have a question. Is Jerry's job being replaced, or is that just when he retire? Was somebody else going to be hired?
Well,
or promoted in his
what
stead?
it is, there is a overall city hiring freeze right now.
Right.
And there's a position review committee, which is composed of representatives from the city manager's office and the HR department and the budget office. They're the ones that make up that committee. So we will ask for the position to be filled. We may be approved, it may be denied. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be denied.
And that's through the city manager's office? They're the ones that make that decision?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Is there anything we could do as commissioners to help support that
Well,
request?
I mean, I think the way that I can best answer that is that, you know, part of our budget that is going to be adopted on May 1st. If you recall, $4 million of that was in the capital deferred maintenance category. $1 million was in salaries.
Yes.
Which is basically what they call the salary savings. So we've already got this requirement need, or whatever you might describe, of $1 million to try to save funds next year.
Gotcha.
And $1 million is probably 20-plus positions.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to achieve our budget, vacancies will have to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Our focus has been that when we have a couple different positions, we tend to want to fill the positions at the community centers first and foremost because of that direct services we talked about earlier. And then if those don't get filled, then we have a little shortfall in relationship to the budget. So, I mean, at this point, it's kind of all been out there. You know, this is part of our $1 million cutback in salaries, basically.
Mark, is there another, I guess another way I'd ask, are there any other anticipated sort of retirements sort of coming up that we know about?
We have one
critical
more.
positions?
John Taylor is scheduled to retire, and I think he's coming next 2 weeks. Does that sound right, Carmen? Yeah, yeah. And that's the one gentleman that I'm aware of, and then, do you know anybody else?
I don't know of any other retirements.
That sounds ominous. Do you know? What do you know?
Well, you're going to get, I mean, there again, there are different reasons people leave city service.
Right.
There's going to be other vacancies.
Sure, of course.
But I think what we're doing too is, you know, we have so much, we know we're going to have to keep some positions vacant. Then it's a matter of, do we replace, you know, Jerry, who happened to be a maintenance mechanic, as opposed to someone who might be an equipment operator, and maybe fill the maintenance mechanic because the priorities are necessary there, and then not fill maybe the equipment operator or someone that's doing some other kind of maintenance. So it's kind of a little bit of a balancing act. We're always going to have some vacancies. I think we have about 17 vacancies right now in park services, so that number's not going to change a lot, but it may allow us to fill one and then not fill another, for example.
Losing a couple of people and not having contingencies to fill those positions, what are we looking at in the way of contingencies of reduction that we are going to have to make if we can't fill these positions? What has to go?
Well,
Have we made that study? Is that something that should become before us so we can make some decisions on it? We know we can't touch, it shouldn't touch the community centers because they're the direct service to our community. The rest is appearance, which is important, but I think we have to set some priorities, and those have to be brought to us so we can help make those decisions.
Well, probably the best example, and I'm going to let Steve answer a couple more of them, is, you know, we've got all our fountains. We actually haven't got 100% of our fountains up, but we still have a few ones we're still working on. But, you know, if there's a major problem with the fountain, pumps, motors, whatever, it probably won't come back on. And that just kind of depends on how long it runs, basically. As long as it's doing fine, but then, you know, that may happen in July or August, for example. And I think a few other things we're looking at, Steve.
Well, you know, you're correct in terms of staffing perspective, in terms of the community centers not being affected. However, you know, those categories we looked at in terms of park facility, maintenance, and as you all said when you made your presentation to the council, if we have 2 or 3 major HVAC problems, we're either going to have a community center that's going to be hot or could be closed, or, you know, depending on the severity there. But so they're not off the board in terms of not being touched. They are from a staffing perspective. But, you know, everything's really on the board now for us to evaluate. We've met a couple of times, so we will be prepared to bring some things back to you. But Mark mentioned fountains. You know, we've talked a little bit about, you know, we have our fingers crossed, hope we can get through some of these. If this spring is any indication what the summer's going to be like, you know, maybe we'll be able to skip a mowing or something and pick up some there. But we have a lot of money to make up here. You know, it's not one or two mowings and then we're fine.
We have a list, we should have you something by next time we meet, about a dozen things. That some are probably a little bit more certain, some are a little bit more uncertain based on the weather and some other factors.
Very good.
Mark, and further answer your question, one of the things, we recently had that supplement we had in the Kansas City Star.
Right.
Heidi, that was $57,000? Well, that's on the list. Is that, and we haven't made any conclusions, so we bring that to you for your all's consideration, but could we better spend that $57,000 somewhere else, given the fact that she can send out newsletters, emails, we could print it in-house ourselves and distribute it, not through the Star, of course, but, so those are all the things we're kind of taking a look at.
Understood. Great. Thank you. Okay. With that, on that upbeat note, I will adjourn the meeting.